I don't remember the first time someone compared me to my sister. Maybe it was when I was 5 and she was 7, whirling in a pink tutu on stage while I sat in the audience, cross-legged and jealous. Or maybe it was when we both applied for the same private middle school, and only she got in. But what I do remember, vividly, painfully, was the summer I turned 16. Our backyard smelled of barbecue smoke and citronella candles. It was my birthday party. Technically. Aunt Susan handed me a gift bag with too much glitter and too little thought. I peeked in and faked a smile. "Oh, Emily, you're growing up so fast," she said, squeezing my cheek. "You're almost as pretty as your sister now." Almost. Almost was my whole identity. My name's Emily Carter. My sister is Madison. And if I had $1 for every time I heard you're Madison's sister, followed by a look of polite disappointment, I'd have bought a new life by now. Madison is blonde. Like real blonde. The kind of blonde you see in shampoo ads. She has perfect teeth, got straight A's without trying, made varsity cheerleader sophomore year, and graduated with honors. She's now in medical school, of course, and volunteers at the local children's hospital on weekends. And me? I was artsy. That's the word people use when they don't want to say weird. I wore black eyeliner before I knew how to apply it, listened to Fiona Apple on repeat, and carried a sketch pad everywhere. It wasn't that my parents didn't love me, but their love came with a kind of sigh, a "we still support you" tone. They always asked about Madison's classes, her grades, her boyfriends, her internships. With me, it was, "How's that art thing going?" Like art was a rash I'd eventually grow out of. By the time I was in college, state school, not Ivy League like Maddie, I'd learned how to shrink. Shrinking was a survival skill. You see, when someone casts such a long shadow, you eventually forget there's light. But light finds its way through the cracks. And one crack was a boy named Josh. We met at a campus coffeehouse where I was selling handmade zines for $3 each. He bought one, even though I could tell he didn't read it. He said he liked the way I wrote. He said I had a voice. That night, I cried in the dorm bathroom, not because of Josh, he was a sweet bonus, but because it had been so long since someone saw me without comparing me to her. That was the first time I thought, maybe I could be someone. But I didn't realize then, the road to becoming someone, me, would tear open everything I'd buried for years, especially the truth about Madison and what hid behind her perfect life. Josh and I started dating halfway through sophomore year. He wasn't flashy. He didn't come from money. He was an English major who wrote poetry on receipts and worked part-time at a used bookstore. But most importantly, he didn't know Madison, not until Thanksgiving break. That was the first time I brought him home. We pulled up to our suburban Austin house in his dented Ford Escort, and I could already hear my mom's voice in my head. Couldn't he have rented something nicer? She didn't say it out loud, not yet. But her eyes did the talking. Inside, the house smelled of cinnamon and expectations. Madison was already there, looking flawless as usual in a cream sweater that hugged her in all the right places. She greeted Josh like a talk show host. Charming, warm, polished. He froze. "Oh, wow," he said after dinner, when we were alone in my childhood bedroom. "Your sister's something else." I didn't answer. I was too busy mentally flipping a table. "She's nice," he added quickly, trying to fix it. "But you're more real." More real. It was meant as a compliment, I know. But I hated that she could walk into a room and unintentionally erase me, even with Josh, the one person who had seen me first. That night, I heard my parents in the kitchen talking in hushed voices. Emily's boyfriend seems rough around the edges, not like Madison's last one. And there it was again. Comparison. Always whispered, never absent. I went back to school carrying more than just my laundry. I carried the weight of being the other daughter. The almost. 1 week later, I got a call that changed everything. Josh was hit by a drunk driver. It happened late. He was biking back from a poetry reading. Broken collarbone. 3 fractured ribs. Concussion. He'd live, but he wasn't the same for a while. I stayed by his side. Missed classes. Skipped a group project presentation. And when my professor called me in to ask why I was failing, I told him the truth. He didn't say much, just gave me a look that said, "You should know better." And that's when Madison surprised me. She drove down from med school. No warning. No smug texts. Just showed up. "I can take care of him for a day," she offered. "You need sleep. And a shower." I wanted to scream. Of all people, her, coming in to save my boyfriend? But I was exhausted. And something in her eyes wasn't smug. It was soft. Tired. Real. The next day, she made grilled cheese in my crappy dorm kitchen and sat beside me. "Can I tell you something?" she asked. I nodded. "I'm exhausted. All the time. Sometimes I wish I could burn it all down and just disappear." I blinked. "You? But you're Madison." She smiled weakly. "Exactly." That night broke something inside me. The comparison had always been one-sided, I thought. But maybe the pedestal was a prison for her too. For the first time, I saw the cracks in perfection. And I didn't know it yet. But those cracks would become the path I needed to finally step out of the shadow. I didn't mean to yell. I really didn't. But sometimes years of silence erupt like a volcano. And that day, I exploded. It was spring break, and I'd gone home alone. Josh was still recovering back on campus. Madison wasn't around. Some medical rotation upstate. And for once, it was just me and my parents. Mom asked me to help clean out the attic. She said it so casually. "I found a box of your old stuff," she added. "Some of your drawings." Drawings? Like they were ancient cave etchings? I climbed the ladder and found them. Dozens of sketchbooks buried in a moldy box. I flipped through pages filled with charcoal faces. Ink-stained hands. Dreams I used to have. And on top was one particular drawing. A portrait of Madison, asleep on the couch. She was peaceful in it. Not posed or polished. Just real. Mom came up behind me, peeking into the box. "Oh, those were cute," she said. Cute. Not beautiful. Not powerful. Not moving. Just cute. And I snapped. "Do you even know why I drew?" I asked, voice trembling. Mom looked startled. "Sweetie." "No," I cut in. "You don't, because you never asked. You only asked Madison about her AP Chem scores and college interviews. Me? I got fridge space for participation ribbons." Her face went stiff. "That's not fair. Isn't it?" The words came like fire. All my life, I've been compared to her. You might not say it out loud, but it's always there. The way you light up when she calls. The way Dad brags about her on the phone. The way I'm just the other one. Silence. Thick, choking silence. Then Mom sat on the old wooden trunk and said quietly, "I didn't realize you felt that way." "Well, I did," I said. "For years." She looked down. "We never meant to VE, but you did." That night, I cried into my pillow like I was 10 years old again. Not because of what she said, but because I finally said what I'd been holding in for over a decade. The next morning, I found a note on my door. It wasn't poetic. Not tear-stained. Just sincere. "Emily, you're right, I've made mistakes. I've been blind to how much strength it takes to be your own person when the world wants you to be someone else. Your sister shines in her way. But so do you. I'm sorry I didn't say it sooner. Love. Mom." It wasn't everything. But it was a crack of light. A sliver of healing. That night, I picked up my sketchpad for the first time in almost a year. And I drew myself. Not Madison. Not some abstract figure drowning in shadow. Just me. Raw. Honest. Imperfect. And for the first time in my life, I saw a person worth seeing. Life has a strange way of rewarding small bravery. After spring break, things shifted. Slowly. Quietly. I started posting my art again. Nothing huge. Just a few digital drawings on Instagram. Some journal doodles turned into comic strips. Josh cheered me on like I was Banksy with a Wacom tablet. For once, I let myself enjoy it. By the end of junior year, one of my comics, titled The Other Sister, went mildly viral. It was a raw, 4-panel strip about growing up in someone's shadow. No names. Just feelings. And yet, people saw themselves in it. Hundreds of comments flooded in. "This is me." Word for word. I cried. "Thank you. How did you get inside my head?" I didn't tell my family. Not yet. I wasn't ready for the cute comment. But then came a message I didn't expect. From Madison. "Hey Em, can I call you?" Something happened. The last time Madison said something happened, she broke her wrist in gymnastics. This time, it was her heart. When I picked up the phone, she was crying. And I mean full-on, can't breathe, crying. "I failed my exam," she said. My clinical rotation report. It was brutal. My attending said I lacked empathy. I was stunned. Madison? Miss Compassionate Volunteer of the Year? He said I come off robotic. Like I memorize answers but don't connect. And then the words tumbled out. "I don't even know why I'm doing this anymore, Em. I don't feel anything when I'm there. Just pressure. Expectations. I'm so tired." For a long time, I didn't say anything. Because I saw something in her voice I'd never seen before. Fear. Not the kind you fake in a rom-com, real fear. Identity fear. The fear of realizing you've spent your whole life becoming someone you might not want to be. "I don't know who I am without this," she whispered. I almost told her. "Now you know how I've felt forever." But I didn't. Because for the first time, it wasn't about me. "Madison," I said gently. "Maybe it's time to figure that out. For you. Not for Mom. Not for Dad. Not for anyone else." She was quiet. Then she said, "Do you think I could draw with you sometime?" I smiled. You mean like me drawing and you panicking over stick figures? She laughed a little. Yeah. That. And just like that, something shifted. The pedestal crumbled. The spotlight dimmed. And in its place was something neither of us had ever allowed before. Sisterhood. Not rivalry. Not comparison. Just human messiness. Shared. I didn't realize it then, but that conversation would mark the beginning of something completely new. Not just between her and me, but within me. Because for the first time, I saw that maybe Madison wasn't the standard. She was just a girl, like me, trying not to drown. It happened in a coffee shop, the kind with mismatched chairs and chalkboard menus. The owner, Jenna, was a friend of a friend. And she liked my comics. Why don't you hang some of your pieces here? She asked, sipping oat milk latte. We do monthly exhibits. I laughed at first. Me? Exhibit-worthy? But then I remembered. I wasn't the girl in the shadow anymore. So I said yes. For the next few weeks, I curated 12 pieces, some new, some from my viral series. I named the collection Under Light. Not Spotlight. Not Moonlight. Under Light. Because sometimes, the softest glow is the one you give yourself. Opening night was modest. Just 20 people in a cozy room that smelled like espresso and nervously sprayed perfume. Josh came, beaming like a dad at a science fair. My friend Maya brought wine in a tote bag and whispered, "You're officially a capital A artist now." And then, she walked in. Madison, in jeans, no heels, hair in a bun. I froze. She made her way around the small crowd, stopping in front of one panel in particular. It was called Trophy Sister. The drawing showed two girls, one with a crown, standing on a podium. The other, sitting cross-legged below, quietly sketching the scene. There was no anger in it. Just truth. Madison stood there a long time, then she turned to me and said, "You made me cry." Twice. I laughed. Well, one more time and you get a loyalty card. She rolled her eyes and pulled me into a hug. I'm proud of you, Em. I don't think I ever told you that. That broke something inside me. In the best way. Because for years, I had begged for that sentence. In secret. In silence. And now, I didn't just hear it. I believed it. Later that night, Mom and Dad showed up. I hadn't invited them. Not because I didn't want them there, but because I didn't need them there. But when I saw Mom pause in front of a panel titled The Unasked Questions, her eyes misted. I didn't know you felt all this, she whispered. I know, I said, but I'm learning to say it now. She hugged me. Dad clapped awkwardly on my shoulder like he wasn't sure if I'd shatter or levitate. It didn't matter. Because for the first time in my life, I didn't need their validation. I was already standing. And the name on that gallery wall? It was mine. Not Madison's sister. Not the artsy one. Just Emily Carter. Artist. Storyteller. Whole. I turned 27 last month. The cake was chocolate with raspberry filling. Josh baked it himself. Slightly lopsided, but perfect in its imperfection. Madison showed up late, carrying a plant instead of wine, and wearing overalls instead of heels. We laughed about how she once thought succulents were low effort, and now she had 7 of them on her windowsill. Apparently quitting med school to go into art therapy will do that to a person. Yeah, you read that right. Madison didn't crash. She evolved. It took time. Therapy. A little rebellion. A lot of crying. But one day she called and said, I want to help people in a way that feels human. I want to start over. I didn't gloat. I didn't say, I told you so. I just said, welcome. As for me, I run an independent digital art studio now. I teach comic storytelling workshops to high school girls. Especially the quiet ones. The overlooked ones. The girls always living in comparison's shadow. My work got picked up by a publisher last fall. I have a book coming out. It's called Almost. The dedication page says, for anyone who was told they were almost enough, you already are. I don't know if I would have written that book if I hadn't spent so long trying to measure up to someone else. And that's the twist, isn't it? Sometimes the very pain that tried to silence you becomes the voice that sets you free. Madison and I still have our moments. She's still blonde and bright and beautiful. I'm still messy, emotional, and a little too sarcastic before coffee. But we no longer see each other through a scoreboard. We're just two women trying to love ourselves and each other better. The other day, Mom sent me a text. A photo of a framed comic strip from my first gallery show, now hanging in the living room. No caption, just a heart emoji. It made me cry. Not because I needed her approval anymore, but because she gave it anyway. That's the thing about stepping out of the shadow. You realize you were never meant to compete with someone else's light. You were meant to find your own. And mine? It burns quiet. And steady. And real. Just like me. Emily.